Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring the vibrant, honestly wildly imaginative world of an artist who fundamentally believed that our buildings need healing just as much as we do. We're looking at the ideas of Friedensreich Hundertwasser. He was this visionary Austrian artist and architect whose work challenges literally almost everything we've just come to accept about modern city living. So I want you to start by just taking a look at your own spaces for a second. Your office, your apartment building, the streets you walk down every single day. Really ask yourself, how do your surroundings actually affect your mood? Because today, we are breaking down the psychological toll of all that gray, utilitarian architecture. We kind of just accept that cities are filled with these concrete boxes, right? But the source material we're exploring argues that ugly, monotonous architecture actually depresses us, completely dampening our creativity and imagination. So who was this so-called doctor of architecture, and how did he plan to fix things? Well, to cure this modern disease of drab design, we've got to meet the man himself, Friedrich Stowasser, much better known as Hundertwasser. He literally called himself a doctor of architecture. And no, this wasn't some standard university degree. He totally invented the profession for himself. He made it his life's mission to cure the urban disharmony caused by rigid, standardized living spaces. He basically felt that the buildings we inhabit were sick, that they completely lacked personality and life. So just like a medical doctor treats a patient, Hundertwasser believed an architect has to diagnose and treat sick buildings to restore their vitality.
His radical approach was basically a battle against the norm. On one hand, you have the dominant rationalist architecture of his time, standardized windows, straight lines, really dull industrial colors. Hundertwasser completely rejected that. He actually believed the straight line was the literal root of urban disharmony. Instead, his whole vision embraced organic forms, super diverse windows, and rich, personalized colors. He didn't want buildings to look like machines. He wanted them to look like living, breathing extensions of nature.
Now, what's really interesting is how he seamlessly blended this love of color with dreams and deep ecological thinking.
You see, his architectural style didn't just come out of nowhere. It was deeply rooted in his background as a painter. Before he was building structures, he used a technique he called trans-automaticism. It's basically an instinctive way of painting using the subconscious, kind of like a primordial trance that generated these abstract works just dripping with color and decoration. If you look at his art, you'll see recurring motifs everywhere. Spirals inspired by Gustav Klimt, round forms, vegetation, rain. For him, painting was an exercise in capturing the beautifully varied, colored naturalness of life. And he firmly believed artists had a profound obligation to find solutions for society. If society was getting pessimistic, he felt the artist had a duty to warn people and actually seek out real answers. He wanted his dreams to spark a creative world, understanding that collective imagination is the absolute key to physical change in our environment. He put it so perfectly, saying, "When we dream alone, it is only a dream. But when many dream together, it is the beginning of a new reality." And the crucial point here is that those dreams were heavily focused on the environment. Decades before it was mainstream, he was a massive forefather of the current environmental movement. He proposed some seriously radical ecological solutions. We're talking humus toilets and, get this, even the recycling of the dead. Wild, right? But he firmly believed that unlike standard environmentalism, which can sometimes feel really clinical, true ecological conservation actually had to integrate human creativity if it was going to be successful.
So what did these masterpieces of imagination actually look like out in the real world? Let's jump to 1985 to see how this visionary playbook comes to life on a grand scale. The ultimate manifestation of his ideas came when he built the Hundertwasser house in Vienna. This is a public housing complex featuring 50 apartments. But man, it looks absolutely nothing like standard public housing. It features soft lines with zero sharp corners, incredibly bright colors, recycled materials, and lush hanging gardens everywhere. It was famously described as a painter's dream of housing. It's a genuine oasis in the middle of the city where everything horizontal belongs to nature, and only the vertical spaces are man-made. But maybe the most revolutionary aspect of it was how it utterly rejected uniformity. In standard housing, it's all strict rules and sameness, right? But in Hundertwasser's buildings, the crucial point was creative freedom and tenant participation. He championed this amazing idea called the window right. Basically, he allowed residents to physically lean out their windows and paint the facade as far as their arm could literally reach. He even encouraged them to create their own mosaics in communal spaces and bathrooms. He gave them the actual agency to leave a personal mark on their habitat. And to really grasp the sheer scale of his work, consider this number for a second: 900 tons. That is the amount of waste burned every single day at the incinerator plant he designed in Osaka, Japan. Just picture what a standard waste incinerator looks like in your head. Okay, now imagine one designed by Hundertwasser. He transformed this massive industrial facility into an extravagant, wildly colorful building with round forms that honestly looks exactly like an amusement park. He proved that even our most utilitarian industrial spaces can be genuinely beautiful. This totally changes how we view the connection between architecture and the mind. Because all of these incredibly unusual places share a common objective, right? They want to establish a positive emotional impact on human psychology. And what's super fascinating is that today, the modern scientific field of neuroarchitecture is actually proving what Hundertwasser intuitively knew decades ago. Neuroarchitecture, which is a real field studied at places like the Academy of Neurosciences for Architecture in San Diego, looks at how physical spaces influence our nervous system. And yeah, they're finding that ugly, indistinguishable architecture truly does depress us, while vibrant spaces act as a massive catalyst for our well-being and self-esteem. A really core finding of this research is that what they call courageous chromatic solutions, basically bold, creative uses of color, can establish a real psychophysical balance. Research shows that specific color combinations can drastically improve your mood. In fact, in hospital settings, these vibrant spaces can actually distract patients from pain and distress, channeling that energy towards confidence and healing. So Hundertwasser wasn't just making things look pretty. He was designing spaces that actively heal the human mind. Which brings us to the ultimate question. How do we start healing modern spaces today? How do we apply these doctoring techniques to the drab buildings in our own cities? Well, researchers in our source material decided to actually test this out. They selected a patient for a theoretical enhancement experiment, the Pinturicchio Kindergarten in Rome. It's exactly the kind of building Hundertwasser would want to cure. It's this squarish, really unexciting, one-story prefab building sitting in a regular lot next to a busy bus terminal. It was totally disconnected from the vibrant, inspirational space a kindergarten really should be. So, using his guidelines, the researchers proposed 3 highly actionable steps to give the users of the building free rein to inject some life into it. Step 1. Break up the uniformity by personalizing the spaces around the windows with distinct patterns and bright colors. Step 2. Integrate nature by inserting lots of plants wherever possible, bringing the organic right back to the concrete. And Step 3. Add suitable user-created decorative elements to the structure itself. The big takeaway here is pretty profound. Embellishing architecture isn't just about surface-level aesthetics. It actually reinstates a building's social and cultural identity. When you increase personal involvement, when people actually use their own hands to take care of and design the places where they work, study, or live, it produces a massive positive boost for their mood. It literally turns a space from a foreign concrete box into a living, breathing community asset. So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative thought. Look around your own neighborhood, your office, your home. Where is the straight line dominating? Where is the color completely missing? And most importantly, how can you act as a doctor of architecture in your own community to bring a little bit of Hundertwasser's healing, colorful energy into your corner of the world?